All right, here we are. We're live. Hey, it's me, T. Krulos.
And I'm Heidi Erickson.
All right, Heidi. Well, I just saw you yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
We
We
took
took
a,
a
a
little road
road
trip.
trip. Yeah, down to the Chicagoland area
Yeah.
for the Paranormal Chicago Convention Conference.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't. Okay. I was saying to my partner yesterday, like, I go to conventions. Like, I used to go to conventions all the time, comic book conventions, paranormal conventions. I don't know, talk about your granny conventions. I like going to cons. The best ones are always the ones like we went to yesterday, where they're just little hole in the wall places, and you walk in, you don't know what to expect. We're driving down. T's like, oh, by the way, this convention is being held in like the banquet hall of a Mexican restaurant in in Stilton, which is a suburb of Chicago. And I was like, oh, word, like tacos, awesome, weird people in tacos. And it was really, really good. Jack, I didn't get Jack's last name. He was just Jack, like Madonna.
Jack Chavez.
Jack Chavez was he's just this like little dude, and he just was pulling it off. Like, he put together a great con. There was good speakers, and there was empanadas. And it's the first con I've ever been to where there was a bar on the vendor floor. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone should do this.
Yeah, I wasn't really in the mood to drink, but I saw people walking around with some pretty dope looking Bloody Marys, margaritas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was
yeah.
proud of them. I was like, yes, this is what we need. What this room needs is intoxicants. There was one security guard there. This poor kid, he's like 23 years old, and had clearly never done a paranormal conference of any kind. This whole world was like strange and unfamiliar to him. And he was standing at the front door doing his damnedest to just maintain a professional demeanor. And meantime, there's a dude walking around with like a big Gandalf, like walking stick slash magic wand. There was definitely people there. Like, I don't want to talk about the Relarians yet, because they're just a whole conversation all by themselves, and I love them so much. It was a weird crowd, and you could tell he was like, "What am I gonna do
Goths.
if
There was a lot
something?"
of goths that showed up, and
There were a lot of goths there. I
yeah,
mean, which
hmm
that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. But yeah, it was pretty. What was your favorite part, T, of the whole thing?
Um, like you said, it was a really fun mix. So I was really glad to talk to everyone. From we got a short interview that if you're listening to the podcast version of this, there was a young tarot card reader sitting next to us. She was super friendly, super nice.
She was really
So
nice.
and she seemed to be young, I think.
Yeah.
So, but then at the same time, we also talked to Dale Kazmarek, who he has been operating this group, Ghost Research Society, since the early 80s, and he started ghost hunting in the late 70s. So he had a really good mix of people who have been in the paranormal field for a really long time, and other people that are probably pretty new to it.
Yeah.
So that's always good to see, and makes it more interesting to talk to people
Yeah.
like that.
A lot
Um,
of those folks were real salt of the earth. Like,
yeah,
I find that's true. People who are super into like bizarre things, like fringe stuff, is like there's two kinds of them. There's the ones that are just like, you meet that person and you're like, yeah, I could be stuck in an elevator with this person. They seem very reasonable. I would go to a barbecue at this person's house. We should hang out. Like, you want to be friends with them. A person where if you were alone with them in a parking garage, you would probably like just walk out and just not even go get your car, because they're living in their own narrative. It's a lot. Um, but yeah, we got some good interviews, and there was a good mix of people, and there was some really good vendors there too, which
mm-hmm.
is like, I do love to shop. That's actually true. The guy right next to us was amazing. I didn't get his name, I don't think, but he had a bunch of insects, like collected insects that he had preserved in resin very artistically, or mounted. I think he said he was going to be at the Oddities and Curiosities show that is coming up that we're going to. So that'd
Cool,
be really cool
cool.
too. Yep.
One thing I also love about conferences like this is that they attract some real characters,
Mm.
real characters.
Yeah.
For example, The first Milwaukee Paranormal Conference was in 2015. I'm running around setting stuff up because I was the organizer of it. And this guy with these thick glasses and a trench coat comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm interested in recording some of the talks by the UFO speakers. Do you think that would be okay?" I was like, "Sure, I think so." He's like, "This is for my own personal use. I'm not going to broadcast it." I'm like, "Sure, you can record. That's fine." So he has a briefcase, and he opens up the briefcase, and he has an old school cassette recorder. And he set that up on the stage, and he had a watch. And so he was timing it. And then at the 30-minute mark of the speech, he went over and flipped the cassette tape over and hit record again. I was like, whoa, this dude wants to record this talk with a cassette recorder. I thought he was going to have like a little digital recorder or something.
Right.
I was like, wow, this guy's probably got a whole room filled with cassette recordings of UFO talks.
Wow.
But I was reminded of that because we had a visitor at our table. His name was Nick. And he had this big book that NASA issued that has photographs of the surface of the moon. And Nick took a magnifying glass and scrutinized every single page of the book. And on one of the pages, he found in a crater what appears to be a human face, which he was very excited to share with people at this conference, this discovery.
Yeah. It was. I actually I had high hopes for Nick when Nick approached the table because Nick was no preamble. He just walks up to us, never spoken to us in his life. I think he said this was his first paranormal conference, although I kind of tend to doubt that because he was ready. He just walks up to us and was like, "So, you guys ever see a ghost?" And we were like, "Sure." And he was like, "Well, I did," and proceeded to tell us like every time he'd ever seen a ghost.
Yeah.
And they were actually pretty good stories. They were like, that was a fairly cohesive narrative. I was like, "Nick, you should write all that shit down." And he's like, "And then plus I stole this book from NASA." And then we were like, well, here we go. That there was once a culture on Mars, and that there's evidence to support that. I don't necessarily know that the things he showed us in what I actually think might have been a Time Life coffee table book, not actually from NASA.
Yeah.
I don't know that is what I would call definitive proof, but it was clearly very compelling to Nick, and he did take the time to show us every single thing that he thought was important in that book. So now we have that information. Thanks, Nick. Good job.
I was very excited too. So maybe we'll talk about this a little bit now. We get there, we set up the table. I'm busy setting up, and then I stand up. And I'm like, oh, there's a second level. And I'm scanning across the second level, and then I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I know who those guys are up there. And that was a very interesting group of people called the Raelians.
Oh, they're so great.
What was your experience like talking to the Raelians?
Okay. Well, I would like to point out that this experience for me started with T going, "Holy shit." And when T says "holy shit," I'm like, okay, whatever's about to happen is going to be something very intense, because not a whole lot causes T to exclaim in that way. T has seen some shit. So T goes, "Holy shit," and like points up on the balcony. And I was like, like, what is Neil Diamond here? What's happening? He says the Raelians are here. What the fuck is a Raelian? So the Raelians are a religion, a spiritual following, a church, if you will. Though they will be very, very clear to point out to you that they do not actually have a church. Most of their meetings happen vis-a-vis a potluck / pool party situation, which is literally what they said, which I appreciate that. Like, I respect it. I'd rather go to a potluck than sit at church anyway. So I go up and talk to these kids, and I'm like, okay, what's the pitch? This is what the Raelians are about. Apparently, once upon a time, there was a French pilot who is now called Rail. That's not his original name. We're not sure if that means
Oh,
something.
not a pilot, a race car driver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a race car driver.
Right.
Um, his name is now Rail. Apparently, he was abducted by aliens. He's taken onto a spaceship. When he got onto the spaceship, surprise, bitch, it's Jesus. Boom. Also, Buddha and Muhammad. Not sure he knew how he knew it was Muhammad, right? Because there are no pictures of Muhammad. He must have probably just seen Buddha and Jesus and been like,
Right. Yeah.
you must be Muhammad. Dr. Jones, I presume. Anyway, so Rail is in the VIP lounge on the spaceship, and Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad were like, look, we are from outer space, obviously. Humans were created with science by us in our image. We are what's the word, T? Ephlium?
The Elohim. The Elohim.
Elohim.
Yeah.
Elohim is like the Hebrew word that means people from the sky. So not unlike like a character like the Anunnaki would be, because there's a lot of characters in ancient mythology that mean like star people or people who came from the heavens or whatever. The Elohim is like the Hebrew version. They're like the Elohim, that's us. We created you. We were, whatever, and this is what's happening now. And Rail was like, dope. And came back to Earth and like kind of took it seems like he went through all of his favorite religions, or I mean, like the Elohim did, went through all of the best religions and picked out all like the just real cherry pieces and got rid of all the rest. And they were like, hey, here's what we're into. We're into pool parties, nudity. They're very about being nude. They very much enjoy being nude. We're about, whatever, body positivity. They're super into it. Soup's not into violence, okay? Space Jesus says that's bad. Don't do it. But otherwise, just like be excellent to each other or whatever. And Rilla was like, I can get behind that. We should totally make a whole religion. And they were like, yes, nailed it. That's what you should do. So he did. I mean, that's all cool and great, and I totally am into that idea. There are some things about the Raelians that are a little bit off-putting. They do celebrate the day that we bombed Hiroshima. Not because we bombed Hiroshima, because that would be creepy and weird, but because apparently that was the day that the aliens came back. The Elohim came back, because I asked, I was like, where are they now? And my pal that I was talking to was like, well, they're on another planet, which obviously, because they're from space, but they've been back. They came back the day that they dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, because they were like, congratulations, my children. You have harnessed the power of the atom. That means that you've gotten to the point where we can like reveal that we exist. But now you have two choices, because this technology will only end one of two ways. Either you destroy yourselves or you create a utopia. So maybe less destroying, more utopia-ing. And like, that's a good point. Totally solid. I questioned why the Elohim hadn't just come back and, just like gave us utopia. Why don't like what? Apparently they're very like grossed out by our tendency to kill each other to death, which fair. It's not the best part of us as a species. But once we stop doing that, then they will come back. Although I think that's a little bit of the cart after the horse. If we stop having wars, then they'll come back and enlighten us, I guess. So, I mean, don't hold your breath. Sad but true. That's what's going on. But anyway, they seemed lovely. We're trying to arrange a little situation. I talked to they were so nice. Like, they were very nice people. But I mean, they have a whole lot of things about, they're very into the liberation of the body, especially females' bodies. They have a whole holiday that just celebrates the clitoris. It's the Sunday after Mother's Day, which I think is appropriate. They have a whole thing where to try to get people into like to listen to their stuff, to whatever, instead of going around and knocking on doors and asking if people want to talk about space Jesus. They have this thing where it's like, topless day, where you're supposed to just take your tops off and not have any top on.
Yeah, it's
So,
called like World Topless Day or something like that.
right, which again, I fully get behind that. I don't know
Mhm.
that I need anybody in a spaceship to tell me that that's a good idea, but like whatever. It's about where you go. Um, the Hiroshima thing threw me off a little bit. They are trying to bring back the swastika, like reclaim it as a like lucky symbol. And it is true that the swastika for many, many years, way before the Nazis ever fucked it all up, was a symbol of good luck and good fortune in a lot of cultures. Unfortunately, though, the Nazis did pretty much ruin the optics on a swastika forever. It's not
Yeah,
fair,
yeah.
but it did.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too. And it's not just because the Nazis used it, it's not like it disappeared after that. It became a symbol of neo-Nazis, which are still walking around with a swastika tattooed on their neck or some shit. So
Yeah,
it's not,
yeah, and it's not great. It's not great. But I mean, if you can put that aside for a second, they do seem like, I mean, I would go to a pool party there. They had a gong. I mean, that's classic, space Jesus stuff right there. The few handful of them that were at this convention were very, very friendly and inviting. I really want to get them here to Milwaukee and just see what hanging out with the Raelians is like. I think it would be fun and good.
and the gong, by the way, they were giving people a free sound bath if they wanted one. You could lay on a
Yeah.
table, and they had a gong. And they also had like what do you call them, singing bowls, so
Yeah.
you get different sounds washing over you and think about traveling through space.
There is some scientific like backing to the idea that certain frequencies can have a positive and healing effect on the body. So like whatever, it is very soothing. I would have taken a nap on that gong table if I hadn't been at a paranormal conference at the time. But yeah, sound baths, clitorises,
Here's
swastikas.
here's something that you should look for at the potluck, okay? I forgot about this part. I posted a picture on social media because I was like, now it's a party. The Raelians are here. And my friend Chris, who's actually done a lot of study of different cults and fringe religions, and he's written about them, he posted and reminded me that if you go to certain Raelian gatherings, you will see that they wear different colored wristbands. And those wristbands will let you know if they're into dudes, ladies, both, whatever,
Oh,
orgies, etc.
sure.
Very much like, the colored handkerchief in your back pocket will let people know what your preferences are, which
Hmm.
I think is good because, it prevents some awkward interactions, maybe.
I mean, I suppose one of their big things is that they are tremendously accepting of people, regardless of their gender expression or sexual orientation,
Hmm.
which I think is really good. Um, there definitely is the potential there for having it just be a kind of spiritually flavored swingers situation. But I mean, I guess I've been to worse swingers parties. There's worse themes for an orgy than like spiritualism and outer space, I guess. Um, but yeah, cool, great. What if you have no preference? What if your preference is zero?
That's
I-
what I'm saying. I mean, I'm gonna tell them, hey, I'm only into Elohims, all right?
right?
Sorry, Earthlings.
That's hot. You're definitely gonna get some people claiming to be Elohim. That's for sure gonna happen. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, anyway, if you guys are looking for something to do, like round about the middle of July, we're gonna have a
Raelian.
Aurelian pool party.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna be dope.
Hell yeah. Hell
Love
yeah.
it.
Okay, here's we took last week off because things were busy. Here's like the big story last week. In fact, we have a Tees Weird Week Facebook group. Check it out. I'm going to tell people in that group though, you can stop posting this story because it's been shared a few times, but it's a pretty fucked up story. We've talked many times about how weird Wisconsin is, and I think part of that legacy is we have so many infamous murders that have happened in the state.
Yeah.
Going back further, but the first one that pops to my mind, Ed Gein, of course, from Plainfield, Wisconsin, killed at least 2 women, dug up a bunch of bodies, made furniture out of them. Jeffrey Dahmer, of course, was one of the most famous residents of Milwaukee. Even if that hit show, Making a Murderer, that was about a pretty famous murder case in Manitowoc. And last week, there is the story out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, which most people know as the home of the Packers.
Yeah.
And here's the headline. This one: woman allegedly put man's severed head in bucket, told cops they would have fun trying to find all of the organs. March 1st.
Okay, to be fair, we don't know exactly how she said that. Like, they suggested in the reporting that she was very nonplussed and emotionless when she was delivering this information, which was the thing that was supposed to be the creepiest about it. Not just that she cut off this guy's head and put it in a bucket and left it for his mom to find, which is exactly what happened, or the fact that she then apparently had sex with his corpse, which is also quite disturbing.
Yeah.
But that she was very emotionless in confessing all this, because she did. She just was like, yep, that's what happened already. But apparently they had been consuming like a very large amount of methamphetamine that evening. That was what they were doing. And meth is a hell of a drug. So, like, I think when she said, good luck finding all of the organs, as you had mentioned, it's entirely possible that she was like, I literally don't know where I put all those organs. Like, I have no idea. They could be anywhere. Because when they pulled her over, she had like a plastic Rubbermaid container in the back of her car that had one leg and like part of some other body part. And she didn't even know it was back there.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even know it was in the car with her. She had no idea.
And
so
they found the torso somewhere else entirely.
Yeah. And the male organ.
The male organ.
So they said.
As they describe it in this report. Also known as a dick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fair. And it's not, that's a little bit whatever. It's just a penis, not necessarily a male organ. But they found it and it was in a bucket. So there's that. But yeah, it seems like it was a bad scene. All the way around, a bad scene. She said that this is like all trigger warning stuff, by the way, guys, for like 5 seconds, because it's pretty gross. She started choking him and she liked it. And then before she knew it, he was dead. So she essentially said the dead part was an accident, more or less. Like just a thing that went too far. But then once he was dead, she was like, well, he's dead. Might as well
have sex with his body for 2 to 3 hours, it says.
For 2 to 3 hours?
Yeah, she was having sex with the corpse.
For 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. That guy probably never ever went that long ever before that moment, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of dudes can go for 3 hours. Holy shit. Okay, well, that's great. Yeah, and then afterwards, part of me wants to believe that she was like, well, I did this thing and that's bad. Maybe if I chop up all of his body into pieces and leave his head in a bucket, when they catch me for this, which they're totally going to do, I can plead insanity, because it's hard to hear that someone put somebody in several different buckets and not believe that they were not functioning in reality entirely. Yeah, that happened. I don't know. It's weird and gross. That's it.
Yeah. So the torso was in a big Tupperware thing. They searched her van and uncovered a crock pot box with more body parts, including legs, according to court records.
Interesting. Wait, a Tupperware? I didn't know Tupperware made torso-sized containers.
Oh no, yeah, like I mean, like one of those big plastic Tupperware like crates, you know. What I mean?
Like a Rubbermaid.
Right,
Rubbermaid.
Rubbermaid. Yeah,
Tupperware is
that's
the
what I mean.
stuff you put like casserole in your fridge. I don't
Oh,
know if
okay.
it's
Yeah.
not big enough for a torso.
Okay, Rubbermaid is what I meant.
Oh
Um,
man.
and yeah, she didn't really try to cover the scene up. There was dried blood all over the place, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, she said she meant to clean it up, but she just got tired and lazy. That was how she described it. She was like, I just
Hmm.
got lazy. I just didn't feel like cleaning that shit up, so I just left. I just took off. Yeah, she was not trying to cover her tracks at all. That was not a thing she was trying to do. But again, meth and had a like weird traumatic experience. Like she definitely instigated that traumatic experience, but that's still got to be kind of traumatic to like kill somebody and have sex with their corpse. Like seems like that would be dramatic. I don't know.
Yeah. Um. So it was last week. I guess was a weird week for severed head stories in general, because on March 5th there's a report out of Denver, and it says that a box of human heads was stolen from a truck that was transporting the body parts for medical research. Officials in Denver said the theft occurred Thursday morning at 11 a.m. when the Denver police said someone broke into the box truck and stole a cardboard box of human remains as well as a dolly. Sources told Nexstar's KDVR the box was blue and white and had science care written on the sides. So someone absconded with a box of human heads.
So, do they think these people were trying to steal human heads, or do they think that somebody just randomly broke into that truck and was like, "Ooh, let's grab something off this truck," hoping that it was a bunch of Xboxes, and then got home and it was, heads or whatever. Oh,
That would be quite a shock.
right. Like, what if you were just trying to make a quick buck and then all of a sudden you had a bunch of heads? Although I imagine probably a human head goes for a reasonable amount on the black market, I should think.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
There's no other information in here about motivation or suspects. I guess the article ends with the police asking the public to contact the Metro Denver Crime Stoppers if they have any information.
If they see some heads just laying around, if a dude comes up to you in a trench coat and was like, hey, and opens the trench coat and it's a bunch of heads on the inside, like in a cartoon, you should report that right away. Like you wouldn't report that. Like you would like, I don't know. I just saw a head over there, which seems wrong. Should I tell somebody about that? Yeah, you should. That's not right. There's no reasonable explanation for that head to just be sitting there. I want to believe it was an accident and that they really thought they were getting something valuable
Yeah.
and ended up with heads instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to think that that's the case. But I do think that human heads are worth something. That's why it's illegal to buy and sell human bones and other body parts because you don't know where that shit came from. You have
Yeah.
no idea.
And you don't want to like encourage a black market where
Right.
like
Right.
who are those two guys in London, like like Victorian age, they killed people and then sold the cadavers to medical
Right.
colleges. Yeah.
Resurrection men, they called them.
Right. Yeah.
Resurrection men. Yeah, it's not like the odds are if you have somebody's head in your house and you didn't know them personally of their own free will is really small, is what it comes down to. Like, you remember that guy that his wife recognized his body at like some show, and like they were doing part of the weirdo show was they were gonna do an autopsy, and people paid to go to this autopsy, and it turned out he had donated his body to science, and they still don't know how or where between his body getting donated to science and it ending up at this show how that even happened. They still don't
Yeah.
know how that occurred because there's no record of how it went down.
Right. And it seemed like it was being used for more of an entertainment purpose
Yeah.
than a medical purpose, for sure.
Yeah.
I love this. The police could only confirm the heads were being transported to be used for medical research. They couldn't share any further details as the case was still active. So,
Okay.
I don't know. You'd think that they would want to give as many details as they could so they could recover the heads, but
Guess
I don't
not.
know.
That's weird, man. Also, it bothers me to think, like, are there just like trucks full of heads rolling around all the time and we don't know it?
Also, in a
Like,
cardboard box, that seems a
right?
little.
Get a
Seems
Tupperware, dude. Have a little respect. I just am worried now. Like, it's strange to me that you never hear about somebody getting into a car accident, like rear-ending a truck or something, and then just a bunch of heads and torsos come rolling out because apparently they're just on the street, just doing whatever. No, I don't like that. I don't like that, T. I want to unhear it. No, thank you.
Here's another interesting story, and I'm hoping that you can tell us what this means for the fate of Japan and the world at large. But there's this seems monumental.
So I just want to let me pull this up real quick because I want to attempt the pronunciations. I feel like I'm probably going to fail, but I am going to try anyway. So there was a stone, a big boulder in Japan. It's been there for centuries. Like everything in Japan has been there for centuries. Speaking of, just so you know, if anybody here is planning on going and doing a deep dive into like Chinese, like demons and spirits, pack a lunch because that rabbit hole is fucking deep. Like you're gonna be there for a while for sure. So how it works is allegedly a spirit of a kitsune had been bound inside of this boulder. Now kitsune is a kind of let me see, yokai. Okay, a yokai is like a demon, but it isn't because a kitsune can be like good in some stories. They are there to protect or bring good luck. This is a fox spirit uh, with 9 tails. Some of them have 9 tails. There's actually 13 different kinds of kitsune. The particular kitsune that was trapped inside of this rock was a kitsune who had possessed a woman, because that's the thing that they do. They can all shapeshift, they can all breathe foxfire, and they can all possess people. This one had possessed somebody, and the purpose of possessing this woman was to seduce and murder the emperor. So that's bad. Obviously, you don't want to do that. And in Japan at the time, the emperor was like a god. Like the emperor was everybody. You had to love the emperor, like in your bones, always. So if you're somebody who's going to seduce and kill the emperor, you're not going to be super popular. You're not going to get invited to a lot of parties. So apparently, they drove this kitsune out of this woman, monks, Buddhist monks, and trapped her in this giant rock, this volcanic boulder. And it was said that anybody who even touched the boulder would die, but the boulder itself was poison. There was like a big rope around it and everything, and people came there all the time to like see this giant rock. It apparently had been eroding for some time. It split right down the middle. People have said that like there was visible cracks for several years. So probably what happened was that a little bit of water got in and then it froze, and a little bit more water got in and it froze until it finally like split open. That happens. It's natural. Unfortunately, we've all been living in mirror land for so long that at this point, if there was a rock that was supposed to be containing like a succubus type fox demon and it just split in half one day, people are going to have a hard time like calling that a natural geological event. There are, of course, people who are totally freaked out because now they're pretty sure, and who knows, I don't know, that a succubus demon that has escaped and is now running amok in Japan. That's the story.
Wow.
That's a story.
Wow.
I know, right? It's kind of heavy. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, learning about kitsune was fun for me. Apparently, kitsune were considered good creatures until the Edo period, and the Edo period was super superstitious, super duperstitious. And during that period in time, uh, like a lot of things that were just spirits before, like nature spirits and things of that nature, suddenly became kind of demonized, literally. And that's when Kitsune became bad news. So it might have just been that they trapped a regular old nature spirit in a rock and now it's loose. Although that might also be bad because I'd be pretty pissed off if I had been stuck in a rock for like 8 centuries. And once I got loose, I probably would cause a little mischief and shenanigans. But I don't know. Either way, the goddamn rock is split. That's what's up,
Damn.
right?
So yeah, I saw that really cool display of yokai at the folk museum in
Oh, that's
Santa
right.
Fe. It's pretty
In
cool.
Santa Fe, where you should have gotten that one hat.
Yeah. Uh and I think that they had uh what'd you say it's called? Kasune?
Kitsune, yeah.
Well, I think they had one of the displays, like a little porcelain figure. Or they were displaying a lot of like, toys and figures and paintings and all sorts of stuff related to
Yeah.
yokai from all different eras. Everything from like the Edo period to like manga comics that came out last year. So
Well, I guess okay. I guess the thing about a kitsune is that it's comparable to a Western perception of a black cat. Because
mm.
once upon a time they were considered lucky, like they were considered protective. And then during that period of time that Japan became kind of superstitious, they started embracing a lot of like Buddhist superstitions. And one of those was this idea that cats and foxes in particular were witches animals. So they became associated with like black magic and like, bad shit and then the whole demon thing. Probably not. Foxes are not that bad. Coyotes are much trickier, I find, and chickens. If there's any creature that should be associated mostly with demons, it's chickens because they're the foulest creature on the face of the earth, and we're certainly sent here straight from the depths of hell. And that's my position on chickens, and always will be.
Yeah, they're miniature velociraptors, really.
They're a fucking menace, is what they are. T. Don't care for, and I don't care for those chickens. Oh man, chicken demons run amok all through Kentucky. Mm. There's a lot of good stories this week.
Yeah.
uh,
Um, here's a random one that I posted in the group today. By the way, I love this because the source on this was Field and Stream, which is not usually where I turn to for my weird
right.
news.
No.
But that makes it even more intriguing to me when a pretty unlikely source has something weird to report.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, did you know that you might think of a deer as just munching on some, leaves peacefully, but it turns out they'll really eat anything, it seems like.
Yep.
And there's videos of them eating birds, fish, squirrels, and even human remains.
Yeah.
So that makes that like not deer story even creepier to me
Right.
because I'm like, maybe
Totally.
they do eat people,
Yeah. The way that they actually figured, I actually know a little bit about this. Is funny. I don't even read Field and Stream. The way that they figured this out was at a body farm. You know what a body farm is, right? So sometimes you donate your body to science, and the science that they're trying to do is forensic science. So they'll take your body and put it out in a field or whatever, so that forensic scientists can figure out how long it takes you to rot under certain circumstances, so they can kind of guesstimate how long a body's been there when they find bodies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And the first place that they recorded, or probably the only place as far as I know, that they recorded deer eating human remains was on one of these body farms. But that's not super unusual. Herbivores are funny like that in that they don't get a lot of protein and minerals from eating just vegetables, and sodium. So deer will absolutely eat human remains or any other kind of remains. Even butterflies will eat rotten flesh. That's why, like, if you see like a dead fish, sometimes will just be covered in butterflies because they're eating the flesh, because all animals need protein. So
Mhm.
that's a thing. I can see it happening. Plus the not deer,
Yeah.
which
Um,
obviously.
so when I posted this in the Tees Weird Week group, Kelly Teague, who's our death expert,
Oh, I love
uh,
her.
she's been a guest on the podcast before.
She's
She
wonderful.
she pointed out an explanation of, not necessarily in all cases, but a lot of times corpses will have mushrooms going on and around them,
Oh,
and
that's true,
so
right?
the deer might be attracted to take a bite out of a juicy mushroom, which happens to be on a corpse or where a corpse was.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Here,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say a people flavored mushroom is probably something
Yeah,
quite tasty. I would
yeah,
try it. That
right.
we should. It would be easy enough to find out that there's that woman who invented that mushroom suit, so that when you die, your corpse is automatically seeded with like, no, it's inoculated with mushroom spores, specifically the kinds of mushrooms that quickly break down or like flesh, like organic matter, so that you decay really rapidly and return to nature. So maybe like we could just leave some bodies out in mushroom suits and see what that was all about. But there's like photographs of deer literally chewing on a rib bone, like a
Yeah,
whole ass rib bone.
that's just
So
what I was gonna say. I have the article pulled up here, and it's this. They had a trail camera. This is at the Forensic Anthropology Research Facility at Texas State University, where they do have a 26-acre farm where forensic scientists study how bodies decompose, like you said.
yeah.
And it caught a picture of this deer, and he's looking right at the camera. And as this article says, the deer has what looks to be a human rib dangling from its mouth like a
Yeah.
cigar, said one researcher.
Yeah. The look on his face is very much like it almost seems threatening. It almost is like, go ahead, no one's gonna believe you. I like that so much. Yeah, I didn't see any mushrooms hanging off of that rib, but I mean, like, who knows? I don't know. I do know that all animals need protein, and that as a result, I think it's important to note that, at least to my knowledge, they've never seen a deer killing another animal. It's not like
Right.
there's deers out in the woods that are like snatching
Stalking
birds
prey.
right out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as at least not to eat. I don't know what they do for fun, but that's not a thing. But they will eat like flesh that like they'll scavenge meat. So, that's what they're talking about. But yeah, rabbits do it, all kinds of creatures do it. They I, that's what's funny to me, like about vegetarians. Like I appreciate anybody having any position, doing whatever they want. I do not hate on vegetarians. Um, but as far as the idea that uh, like that it's unnatural to eat meat, is like there's not really any vegetarians in nature. Like even butterflies eat meat. So no, why would you not do it? Like just eat it. Just eat it. It's delicious.
Yeah. All right.
It's Animal Planet up on this show tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a lot of weird animal news, which I always find fascinating. I like weird animal news.
I
Um,
think
what what's your take on weird animal news?
Oh, I just remembered I saw a meme earlier today where someone was holding an ostrich egg,
Mm-hmm.
and they had changed the caption to say, "People in the Midwest don't want you to know this, but this is what a horse egg looks like." And it just ran through my head just now. Like we really don't know shit about what animals do or don't do. Like honestly, human beings are so arrogant and vain. Like we know nothing about it. Like the idea that deer eat meat shouldn't be so completely shocking to us, but we've got it in our head that like a deer would never. They only ever eat the bark off of trees and nibble delicately on little flowers because they're deer and they're cute. And I'm like, I got news for you, dude. People die being attacked by deer in the Midwest. That happens like at least once a year. Somebody will go out during buck season, like when they're rutting or whatever, when they get super territorial, and literally dented in, just straight up, like someone took a baseball bat to it because they were on the wrong road in the wrong season. And some goddamn deer took a look at their super and was like, I don't think so. Absolutely not. And just head bashed it until the door was caved in. Like, there are no sweet little adorable creatures in nature. Given the right circumstances, there is not one single living thing that would not beat you to death with its own face and then eat you. Like that's nature. That's what nature is like. There are no good guys in nature, except there's one good guy in nature.
Who's
and
that?
It's Hank the Tank.
Oh yeah.
Hank the Tank is a good guy. And I will not
Yeah.
hear any slander on Hank the Tank.
Yeah, this is the headline that caught my eye. A massive bear named Hank the Tank on the run from California police.
First of all, Hank the Tank is not even that big for something like his weight is listed there, which first of all, rude. Don't just go listing people's weight in the article. But the fact of the
500
matter,
pounds.
which is not that big for a bear. That's not that big for a bear. That's big for like a cat. Not that big for a bear. Bears get to 500 pounds all the time. He's like a size 10. Like, who cares? That's so mean. First of all. Second of all, they did DNA testing. They had found that there was a bears, some kind of bear, breaking into people's houses and like raiding their fridges and eating all of the like honeygrams out of their cabinets, which will happen sometimes. And they said it was this one bear, Hank the Tank, because they had caught him on video like 3 or 4 times, not in the act of eating somebody's honeygrams, just like around. He wasn't even causing any trouble. So they've been actively hunting this bear, like with the intention of killing him, because they felt like he had gotten to the point where he wasn't afraid of humans anymore and had decided that humans were a source of food and that it was only a matter of time before he like attacked a kid or something and tried to eat them. But just at the 11th hour, when they were totally ready to just like capital punishment our guy Hank, they did DNA testing and discovered that it wasn't even Hank did one of those houses out of like the dozen houses. There's like 5 other bears involved. It was one house. One house.
Oh, so
house.
Hank is not an individual bear. It's a team of bears that are interchangeable. It's like Andy Warhol. He used to have so many gallery openings that he would send people that were impersonators of himself to different art galleries, so he could be in 3 different places the same night.
Right. Yes, Hank the Tank is he's the Andy Warhol of bears, 100%. I was just saying that. I think that all the time. And he wasn't even the biggest bear in that cadre of bears. There's no evidence to suggest they were working together. It seems like these were unrelated incidents with unassociated bears. And no matter how you slice it, Hank was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's innocent. Justice for Hank.
He's innocent. Well, I mean, someone must have been stealing this food. Here's a quote from an officer, I think. Yeah, South Lake Tahoe is where this is happening by in California. And he says, in Tahoe, there is year-round access to high-calorie food, whether we're talking about leftover pizza or ice cream or just trash, he continues. It's easier to find that kind of food than to work for hours to remove grubs from a dead log.
Did he just call Hank the Tank lazy?
Yeah.
That's bull, dude. Breaking into somebody's house is work, okay? Like it's easily as much work as finding grubs or whatever. This guy's just rude and he's classist and I don't appreciate it. Also, I like that he made the distinction between leftover pizza and trash. Those are two different things. Leftover pizza, practically a food group, not garbage. How dare you? So, I don't know, whatever. God damn, God, they called that bear fat. They said he was lazy. That's so mean. Like, I don't know. If I was Hank, maybe he wasn't a criminal before, but I think you guys are pushing him. You're setting up a falling down. Remember that movie?
Yes, right. Yes,
Yeah,
he kind of is he's a war vet, and then he snaps because he goes into a place and he wants a Pepsi or something and they don't have it, and he kind of flips the fuck out.
right. It was a small thing, but like over time, all these small injustices and slights got to the point where this regular guy just lost his shit and went on a kill crazy rampage.
Yeah.
And then like you're doing the same thing, but with a bear. Like after a while, Hank the Tank is gonna get tired of taking your shit. I don't even think that's his name. I think he prefers Henry. And
Yeah,
like
that's they said that he got this nickname Hank the Tank, but the press, I think the press wins here because they gave him the more regal nickname King Henry.
oh, see, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that. That's sweet.
Yeah.
I wonder if King Henry and Zorth hang out ever. I bet you those guys. I can just see Henry just sitting down with Zorth and being like, "Bro, you are not going to believe the shit that these humans are up to." And Zorth's like, "I know, I know. They're just crazy. That's why the Elohim won't come back because of this kind of bullshit right here with the name calling." God.
Yeah, they all do kind of intersect because Zorth was California too. Realism, as you probably won't be surprised to hear, has got a good following in California.
I believe that.
So
I believe that. It's so funny actually, because when I was discussing the Raelians with my friends, I was shocked to discover how many of them also believe that Jesus was from space and that humans were probably created by aliens. I like definitely was like, wow, I did not expect that about you, Mom.
Realism hotspots: France, which is where it was founded, French Canada, California, and Japan.
I believe that, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are some of the places where it's most popular.
I'm really surprised that it hasn't taken hold here in Wisconsin. That's really shocking to me. Yeah. That seems like the kind of thing that you're like your uncle's weird friend who owns land way up north would be a Aurelian. And like, yeah, I'm surprised there's not whole resort towns built around that on some lake somewhere with their titties out all day, just like at the pool. Having a potluck. What's more Midwestern than a potluck?
Right.
Mm.
So when we're talking about the bears, this reminded me, I have a book recommendation if anyone wants one. There's a book called A Libertarian Walks into a Bear. And it's about a small town in New Hampshire where the population is overwhelmingly libertarian.
Sure.
And they don't want to pay taxes.
Right.
And they decide that they're not going to pay taxes by reducing public services. So the garbage removal kind of goes to the wayside. The garbage is piling up, and soon this town is invaded by many bears who are drawn to the garbage. And it doesn't help that there's a sweet little old lady who is feeding the bears dozens of donuts every day. So she has like a pack of 36 bears living in the woods near her house because they know that she's going to feed them donuts every day. And shit hits the fan with the libertarians versus the bears.
Wait, is this based on a true story or is it
It
like
is a true story.
No.
It's a nonfiction book.
I pictured it as like a real messed up like children's book.
No, it
That's a
was a
true
non.
story.
Yes.
Wow, that's a true story. So
Yeah, I read it.
they decided to cut public works, and the thing they thought they'd cut first is sanitation.
Well, they cut everything. Road
That's not.
maintenance, sanitation.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, yep, that'll happen. What's that called? A libertarian walks into a bear.
Yeah.
I want to borrow that from UT, I think.
Yeah. I think it came out in 2019 or 2020. It's a good book. It's funny, it's interesting. It's a little
Wow.
bit sad at times.
Sure. Oh, wow. So there was a real old lady who was feeding the bears donuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I forget. He gave her an alias in the
Great.
book because she didn't want her real name to be used, of course.
Yeah.
So she's called like Donut Lady. He's called her Donut Lady. And
Yeah.
her neighbors were not happy with her either.
Yeah.
because because she turned like their neighborhood into Bear Central.
Well, tough shit, you guys. It's Libertarianville. We do what we want.
Right.
I'll feed bears if I feel like it. It's my constitutional right to feed any bears I want, any kind of breakfast pastry I feel like. Oh man. Oh geez. Having so many thoughts and feelings right now. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with the libertarians. Okay, great. Well, I'll put it on the list then. I like that we're doing movie and book recommendations now. This is a good idea. This is fun for me. I'm into
Yeah. Yeah. So
uh,
we'll see what weird animal news we can round up in the future, and
yeah.
we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we will. Good night, everybody.
Have a good week, everyone. Have a weird week.
Have a super weird week.
Bye.